Okay, my tape is on.
Last time I checked.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Sunshine Law. Notice of time, date, and place has been furnished to the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News. Notice has also been posted on the bulletin board of the Administration Building. Would the clerk kindly take the roll?
Mayor Giordano.
Here.
Ms. Saracola.
Here.
Mr. Ritchie.
Here.
Mrs. Sherman.
Here.
Mrs. Weber.
Here.
Everyone kindly rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have a moment of silence for all our Waldeck veterans and all veterans across our country who have given the ultimate sacrifice to keep us free so we can assemble like we are today. Clerk, do the prayer.
Dear Lord, grant us your guidance and wisdom. Let this meeting be conducive to unity and fairness. May our actions reflect our agenda to assist our borough's needs, not our personal goals and needs. In his name, amen.
Amen.
Good evening, everyone. Under reports, I don't have much really to say. Summertime, it's very quiet, so we don't really do much. Some of us do, some of us don't. From the last time we met, I performed 2 weddings here in Waldwick. One family was from Hoboken, the other family was from Waldwick. Also, I've been receiving a lot of phone calls or emails from residents with concerns, and as I've always said and I've always done, I forward them over to either our administrator, Matt, or Kelly, and they call and they explain they tell them what they need to know. I send an email out beforehand so that people know that I received it and that someone will be getting back to them. And so far it's working, and every resident is very happy that they're being responded to in an orderly fashion. Also, a lot of our staff is on vacation, or they'll be going on vacation, and I'd like to thank everyone who comes into the building who might have to be inconvenienced a little bit because someone is not in their department. But, you know, we're Waldwick, and we have to go on vacation, and we do the best we could to make sure that all our residents are satisfied and being treated to 100% service. That's all I have to report. Fire and Police Protection Committee, Ms. Saracola.
Thank you, Mayor. Starting with the fire department, as of right now, for the month of August, they've responded to 14 calls. 3 of these calls were mutual aid for building fires in Wyckoff, Ridgewood, and Franklin Lakes. As far as drills, we're fortunate enough to have a house donated to us prior to its demolition for training. The past drill evening members have focused on house advancements, or hose advancements, search and rescue, ladder truck placement, throwing exterior ground ladders, and overhaul techniques. Having a house to drill on has been extremely beneficial as it allows them to train in actual structures, not just training props or academy systems. It also allows the residents of the area to come out and get a firsthand view of how the volunteers train for the community. They'll continue drills on Thursday nights until the contractors are ready to demolish the house. Moving on to the police department, they had a debrief meeting regarding the carnival with Steve this morning. They're going to schedule a meeting with the Lions Club sooner rather than later to discuss needed improvements if the Lions Club intends to have the carnival next year. On a more positive note, I met with some of the police department last week with the mayor to discuss Warrior Night Out, as well as with Steve and Matt. October 20th is a tentative date that we've chosen for this year. Last year, our inaugural year, was a very nice event, and I anticipate this year will be even better. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Mr. Sherman.
Thank you. July run report for Wallback. They answered 48 calls for the month of July. 2 of those were mutual aid calls. 6 of those calls were to the Bristol, making year-to-date 274 calls to the Bristol. 1 member went on 45 calls of the 48. So that's very impressive, and we're very grateful for such dedication. 34 calls were answered in less than 5 minutes, 11 in 5 to 10 minutes, and 4 calls were mutual aid, meaning they assisted other towns with their need for an ambulance. The age range of their patients was from under 1 year of age to 99 years. And they brought patients to Hackensack, Holy Name, Newbridge, and the Valley Hospitals. They're currently running their fundraising campaign, which I'm sure you all received a letter in the mail. They wanted me to express their gratitude for the donations they've already received from residents and businesses in town. And I would just like to remind everyone of that fundraising campaign because they used their donations to purchase bandages, oxygen, new ambulances. They use it and give it all back to the community. So I ask everyone to see if you could be generous to the ambulance corps. They were on standby every night at the Lions Club Carnival, and they have a few standby opportunities in the next couple months they were asked to assist other municipalities with. Next week, I'll be attending their general meeting, and I'll have more to report on after that meeting. Tonight, some members of the executive board met with Stephen Neal, our new administrator, and they invited me to attend the meeting. It was just an introduction meeting, and they introduced themselves and talked about their goal and, just bounced some ideas off each other. It was a very productive meeting. And let's see, they're going to be renovating their bathrooms and kitchen to make them operational. So that's very exciting for them. The borough has the funding for that ready for them. And I'll have more under unfinished business. Thank you.
Thank you. Recreation and Health Committee, Ms. Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a reminder, the summer concert series is continuing. There's another concert tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Borough Park. It's the Community Band of Waldwick. And then next Wednesday on August 23rd at 7 p.m. at Borough Park will be Tim Geisen. I was able to attend the Sewer Authority meeting on July 19th. It was their general meeting. The main focus of that meeting was just they had some change in their connection fees. There was a meeting on August 9th. I was unable to attend. I was on vacation. But that was a special meeting, and it really was just approval of connection fees for some customers in Wyckoff. It didn't have much to do with us or any of the other towns. And then Northwest Regional Medical Health Commission, their next meeting will be on September 21st at 7:30 p.m. here, and I will be attending. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works Committee, Mr. Ritchie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, happy end of summer, everyone. As the summer rounds up, you'll see we haven't yet finished the paving around town, but you'll see in the consent agenda this evening authorization for kind of some final payments on curb ramps and some of the final paving. You'll also see in the consent agenda the authorization to purchase it's essentially the top portion of the sewer truck. We're not replacing the entire truck. That, I think, is important to note that was authorized in the budget when we approved it. So we're not spending new money. This was already kind of earmarked, and it takes a few months to contact the automotive agencies and get these reserved and get all of this purchased. So we'll be approving that this evening. In addition to finishing the curb, the paving around town, things like line striping, catch basin work, just general maintenance and lawn care cutting, and the team is kind of prepping for the big water project that's pending. So that it's wrapping up the summer. That's kind of what's going on. That's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Borough Administrator.
Yeah, I have a couple items I'd like to touch on. One being the water treatment system project. We have our pre-con meeting tomorrow afternoon, with the contractor and the engineers, so that is moving along nicely. We had a preliminary meeting last week with the contractor just to visit all the sites and, make sure everyone's familiar with the scope of work. So, so far, we feel very comfortable with the contractor and everyone involved, so we're looking forward to getting started. We are anticipating a fall start for construction. We'll update, as after tomorrow, when we have a better idea of the timeline and schedule. We do have one position available. We have a crossing guard position available. If you know anyone interested, please pass that along. We'll be sharing that out on social media also. You could download the application at waldwicknj.org/jobs. And that's pretty much it. We have a lot of projects that are wrapping up, and in the meantime, we are prepping for a lot more projects next year. We have a resolution on to execute a grant agreement with Bergen County Community Development Block Grant Program for Harrison Avenue roadway improvements for next year. So we're already starting to plan out our 2024 project list. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Borough Clerk Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. With the approval of the minutes tonight, the minutes will now be caught up and will be current. Resolution 2023-271 is amendment of a limo license for InStyle, and all of their paperwork has been received. Resolution 2023-272 is a raffle license approval for families, and that's a Wyckoff-based organization, but their event is being held at Gear Block, and that's why it's on our agenda. That's all.
Thank you. Grant Administrator Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. Steve touched on the Community Development Block Grant that we received, for the late addition to the agenda tonight. Additionally, just like to inform the public, because we've been getting numerous calls, rightfully so, regarding the spotted lanternfly problem, as well as the grant that was available from the state. The borough did receive the $15,000, and I will assure you that it will be spent before the grant money goes away at the end of the year, and that's all.
Thank you very much. Borough Attorney, welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to touch on Resolution 2023-264. The last couple months, we've been speaking to different law firms across the country. This is in regards to, I know you've awarded the contract for your PFAS treatment system throughout the borough. At this time, we can announce my office has been working with a bunch of different law firms, and we can, announce it publicly now that, we've retained Wilentz, Goldman, and Spitzer, who's been active since the outset of the PFAS litigation, which is venued in the United States District Court in South Carolina. So we've been working with them and talking to them about representing the borough. They've agreed to represent the borough. They've actually filed the complaint already. They know that the resolution's only being considered this evening, but they wanted to get a complaint filed for us earlier this summer to at least get in the system. So that's, if for some reason this would fail this evening, the complaint would be withdrawn. But we wanted to find somebody that we trusted and that we wanted to recommend to the borough in order to be involved with this. It's been a long and tedious process. I know, the public has been asking about it for numerous months, but we have been working on this for numerous months as well. And I'm pleased to recommend Wilentz this evening to you and ask you to adopt that resolution to get going. Steve has already been involved with this. I've given him the fact sheets that need filled out and the next steps to continue to process the claims there in South Carolina, where the cases have been consolidated in the federal court, and we'll continue to move to hopefully recoup whatever funds are possible to offset the cost to the borough. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Consent resolutions and resolutions of the governing body.
Thank you, Mayor. Be it resolved that the following resolutions herewith listed by consent, having been considered by the governing body of the Borough of Waldeck, are hereby passed and approved. 2023-262, approval of consent. 2022-263, approval of minutes, regular meeting June 20th, 2023, and July 18th, 2023, and special meeting July 25th, 2023. Policy votes. A, Erica Campanelli requests to hold a block party on October 21st from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. with Woodside Road to be closed between Glen Air and Derby Lane with alcoholic beverages being served. B, Emily Tedeschi requests to use Pavilion A on September 16th from 12 p.m. to dusk for a children's birthday party with alcoholic beverages being served. C, Rob and Jen Swanson request to use Pavilion A on October 7th from 11 a.m. to dusk for a children's birthday party with alcoholic beverages being served. D, Waldwick Football Club requests to use Veterans Park Field from August 15th to November 20th, Mondays 4 p.m. to dark, Tuesdays 4 p.m. to dark, Wednesdays 4 p.m. to dark, Saturdays 1 p.m. to dark, and Sundays 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and approval to add the light tower for just the months of October through November. Waldwick Soccer Association requests to use Veterans Park Field from August 20th through December 3rd, Thursdays and Fridays from 4:30 p.m. to dark, Saturdays 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., and Sundays 12 p.m. to dark, and requests DPW to line the field and reline as needed. F, the Waldwick Chamber of Commerce requests permission to hold the 16th Annual Chamber of Commerce 5K Run on Sunday, May 5th, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and to display the Waldwick 5K Run banner on fence located at the end of East Prospect beginning April 1st, 2024. G, appointment of Matthew Feldman as senior member of the Waldwick Fire Department. H, appointment of James McNaught as senior member of the Waldwick Fire Department. I, appointment of Liam Vime Olive as junior member of the Waldwick Fire Department. 2023-264, authorizing the filing of a claim by Willens, Goldman, and Spitzer, PA, in regards to PFAS litigation on behalf of the borough. 2023-265, award a fair and open contract to Pierce Equipment Company, Inc. for repair and replacement of the VACCON sewer truck in the amount of $238,893.05. 2023-266, award a non-fair and open professional service contract to Peter Lupo Esquire of Hoplite Communications LLC for telecommunications attorney. 2023-267, award a non-fair and open professional service contract to Boswell Engineering for asset inventory mapping in the amount of $35,000. 2023-268, change order number 1 and final payment to D&L Paving Contractors for improvements to East Prospect Street Phase 1 and 2. 2023-269, change order number 1 and final payment to AJM Contractors, Inc. for borough-wide ADA curb ramp upgrades. 2023-270, authorized waiver of permit fees to Bryant Electric for the installation of direct current fast charging stations. 2023-271, authorized amendments to the AutoCab license for InStyle LLC. 2023-272, approval of raffle license number 2023-04 for Families for Families. 2023-273, certification of the audit. 2023-274, execution of low-income household water assistance program vendors agreement. 2023-275, authorize a lease agreement for Quadrant folding and inserting machine. 2023-276, release vacant property escrows for 24 Schuler Ave, Block 148, Lot 42. 2023-277, payment of invoices. And 2023-278, authorize execution of grant agreement with Bergen County Community Development Block Grant for Harrison Avenue roadway improvements.
Do we have a motion and a second to accept? Somebody, motion by Michelle, second by Katie. Anyone have a question on this? Yes.
What is Families to Families? Do we know? I never heard of that.
Families to Families is, it's either their education in Wyckoff, their like Waldwick Education Foundation. It's,
Oh.
yeah,
Okay,
I
thank
believe it's
you.
something like that.
Yes, so they're using the gear block since they're having the raffle here?
Because they're having
They have to
it a
get
clear
permit.
block, it's in the town that you have the event in,
Oh, I
not
understand.
necessarily where you're located.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola,
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie,
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman,
Yes,
and Mrs. Weber.
Yes.
Public hearing, would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2023-17?
Ordinance number 2023-17, an ordinance to amend Chapter 48 fees, Section 48:51-8 Fire Prevention Code to add a fee for the fire inspections for non-owner occupied 1 and 2 family dwellings.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? What this is we discussed this at our last meeting. We're setting fees that we've never had before for the fire inspection. And as you hear or see it, it's for non-owners occupied 1 and 2 family dwellings. Anyone else from the council? I close the council's comments. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If none, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise it in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion and a second. Motion by Mike, second by Katie. Clerk, please take the roll.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2023-18?
Ordinance number 2023, number 18, create Chapter 74 Salt Storage Regulation to the Code of the Borough of Waldwick.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? What this was, we talked about this once again at the last meeting. This is a state mandate that's part of our stormwater permits. Anyone else? I close the council's comments. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? Seeing none, I ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise it in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion and a second. Motion by Mike, second by Terry. Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2023-19?
Ordinance number 2023, number 19, bond ordinance to appropriate an additional sum of $820,000 for the undertaking of various water system treatment improvements in, by, and for the water utility of the Borough of Waldick in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such additional appropriation and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Anybody from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read?
Sure, I'll just comment a couple things. This is really just to add additional money. Our bids came in higher than the original bond ordinance was for, and this adds a lot of contingencies into the project and covers things like permitting and additional engineering and design.
Anyone else from the council? I close the council's comments and open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion and a second. Motion by Michelle, second by Mike. Clerk, please take the roll.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Introduction of ordinances. Would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2023-20?
Ordinance number 2023-20, an ordinance authorizing the Borough of Waldwick to enter into a lease agreement with the Waldwick High School Graduation Ball, Inc. for the use of the old DPW complex.
A motion and a second is in order to pass this ordinance on first reading, and that it will be advertised in local legal newspapers as required by law, setting a public hearing 2 weeks from tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Motion and a second. Motion by Terry, second by Michelle. Anyone on the question? What this is an agreement we have every year that we set up with the grad ball committee. We have an old DPW garage that everyone knows about, and what they do is they store their equipment there so that they could have the grad ball, which is a tradition in the borough of Waldwick, for the graduating class. Everybody follows the rules. Everything's set up. There's never been a problem, and we just constantly keep on doing this for the borough students and for the parents. Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Yes.
Yep, Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody from the council have any unfinished business?
Yes.
Oh, she can go first. You called it. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So at the last council meeting, Councilwoman Sherman asked me to inquire with the fire department as to how they spend the money that they raise during their fundraiser. So I reached out to Jeff Stevens, the president, and he gave me a lengthy response that I'm going to share with you guys. So the money is used to support the operations of the department and association. Examples of some of the expenses are station cleaning, uniforms, upgrades to training and meeting room, funding life member attendance at the New Jersey State Firemen's Convention, website hosting and maintenance, scholarship donations and sponsorships such as the Waldwick Little League, Borough Calendar, etc., food for meetings and during special duties such as the Santa Run and Grad Ball standby, drinks such as water and Gatorade for the fire truck and stations, awards dinner and Christmas party, maintenance expenses for ice makers, kitchen, floors, etc., organizational membership such as the North Jersey Volunteer Firemen's Association and the New York, New Jersey Volunteer Firemen's Association, various training supplies and costs, recruitment costs. They also maintain 2 funds to support the department in case something occurs. They have the operating endowment and the Ackerman Sickness and Distress Fund. The operating endowment helps cover large expenses, such as when they use the funds to build and equip the commercial kitchen that's at Commercial 1 or Company 1, and when they upgraded the flooring. The Ackerman Sickness and Distress Fund is kept in case one of the members falls on hard times or gets hurt while serving the borough, and there are expenses that aren't covered elsewhere. Any excess funds from the fundraising can go into these accounts. The department has offered to do a separate boot drive specifically for the ladder truck after Councilwoman Sherman's previous questions back in March, and they were informed by then Administrator Weary that it would not be needed and he would get back to them if anything changed. So they haven't received a follow-up from him since he left. So that was the response I received.
Well, They can't get a follow-up, he's not here.
Understood.
Okay, you have any questions for her?
Yeah, I'm just curious, they take in a lot of money and they hold a lot of money. How much of that they're going to give towards the truck? That was my question.
Yeah, so I think all of their fundraising money goes to these expenses, and it's never been used for the truck, and that's why they proposed doing the boot drive specifically for the truck, but I guess they were told to hold off and that it wasn't needed. So if we want to revisit that, I'm more than happy to revisit that.
Yeah, I just feel, I don't know how much money they have, how much they take in. I have no idea how much they need to fill each one of their accounts. But if there's money left, perhaps they could make a donation towards their truck because, you know, we did get the bigger truck, the upgraded truck, which I want them to have. I want them to have the very best equipment money can buy to keep them safe. But if they have excess money in their fundraising, perhaps they could offset the cost, as the ambulance corps does. The ambulance corps buys their own ambulance, you know, so they're able to fundraise and purchase an ambulance and everything they need to equip it. I just feel perhaps the fire department could do this, something similar, because they're both fundraising from borough residents. So how does one have enough to buy a truck and the other one, and they still have their own organizations, they have to fund their own training, their, you know, all the same stuff, but yet they're able to save money and buy a truck and buy Band-Aids and bandages. So that's where I'm not understanding the difference.
Fire department has 2 accounts. One is the chief's account and one is the operating account. Everything that, well, I think it was a little mixed up on what Katie said. The operating account is the social aspect of the fire department. The operating chief's account is what the chief uses for his fire truck. Anything that the chief gets or needs for his fire truck comes from us. So you have a right, you know, you're good with asking these questions, and I think maybe we should ask the chief to give us a breakdown of his stuff too. That might help you figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
There's 2, you know, as I said, there's 2 departments.
yeah.
It's the company and the line. Company is the finance part, it's the entertainment part, it's the social aspect. Whereas the line officers are the men that are on the fire trucks, the men that are fighting the fires, they're your chiefs and your officers. And, you know, as I said, there's 2 separate accounts. Maybe if we get to find out what his take is, you know, this is from the president, we should, yes, from the chief. Maybe it'll be a little bit different for you to understand.
Yeah, I truly just want to understand.
Right.
I just don't understand the difference between the 2 organizations. And since I'm involved in the Wallback and I'm seeing everything that they do, I'm just not understanding how one can fully fund and the other, I'm just not understanding, and I'd like to be educated.
Just ask Steve, I think the best thing for us to do so that everyone understands it, why don't Steve arrange a meeting between the chief, the president, yourself, and the commissioner, and you could add, you know, down here, and you could answer, you know, I could help you answer your question.
Okay, that would be
He
great.
will reach out and see what's a good time for everybody.
That would be great.
Good? Any other unfinished business?
Yeah. I just had I know it sounds like I'm picking on the fire department, but I'm really not. You mentioned that there was a house donated that they did training on. What is the procedure when a house is donated in the town? Because I don't remember seeing any information about this, like as a council. Who do they donate it to? Wouldn't it be to the borough? And then, because the fire department falls under us? I'm just concerned about the insurance aspect, it seems like I knew nothing about this, so how is that?
If you want to start, I'll supplement.
For what I understand is that the person that sold the house is the one that gave permission to the fire department to use it. I don't think it was the right thing to do. I think the fire department didn't realize they had to get permission from us. They did before, because Patrick was very strict on that. He would let us, they would have to give us the house at the times in which they're drilling on it, and then it goes back to them to protect, like you said, everybody, because you never know what would happen. I think it was an honest mistake that they didn't know about. I think Steve has been addressing this with them.
Yeah, I think maybe there was just a lack of communication within the transition period, so it's something I plan to address with them and hopefully clean up, and everyone will be aware of, the situation and what's going on.
Okay, and would this pertain to vehicles as well that are donated, or is
So,
that different?
I'd have to look into their specific process, because there is a process for donating cars where they submit a letter and it is, you get a tax write-off on that. So I'll look into that one specifically a little bit more.
Okay, thank
Just-
you.
And just to clarify, I don't believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's not like the title of the house actually comes to the borough. It's the term, it's not really a donation to the borough, it's permission to use the house prior to demolition.
Oh,
Then
okay,
then it's
yeah.
back to them.
okay.
Yeah, we don't never control the house. We just have to know what's going on.
But wouldn't we have to get additional insurance to cover such an event? Or is that covered under the fire department's fundraising?
It's something I'll have to look into more.
Yeah, you can look into it. I believe it's covered under the normal insurance policies that the borough has for any training that your first responders do.
Okay.
It's not really fundraising, but what they do, like, a lot of times the fire department goes up to the fire academy, and they go up there to drill and train. They're covered by the town when they go up there.
Okay,
It's the same thing with the house. But the only thing is, as I said before, Patrick wanted us to make sure that they always told us what was going on, just in case.
okay,
So we know what's going on, just in case you have a resident that say, you got guys going into a building here, what's going on?
right.
We need to know, we know we gave permission. I think, as, Steve said, I think there was a mix-up in communication.
Okay,
And one of the other reasons for the notification is because we used to alert the neighbors to the house so that they understand there's not an actual fire going on, it's a training exercise.
yeah.
So that's the other reason that they're
Right.
supposed to come before and let Steve or, the administrator know at the time.
Okay, great. And then I just wanted to mention that the Waldeck Beautification Committee had a work day, and we did work at the Christopher Goodale Public Safety Building. We filled 2 large paper bags of weeds from the Monument Plaza there, and then we turned over all the mulch that is in the gardens, and we transplanted a few flowers that were there. And we also turned over the mulch on the ambulance corps and at the 9/11 memorial. And then we ran out of steam because it was about 100 degrees. So, yeah, we're planning additional work days coming up. And I wanted to thank the beautification committee members who were able to help. They're wonderful people who do great, great work. So, thank you.
I hope the wreath was on.
What's that?
Will the wreath come?
No.
Okay. But next time this happens, we have to reach out to Flowers by Joe.
Okay.
She's the one that supplies them, we had, whatchamacallit, John DeWalk call her. I called her, she said she was gonna do it, she probably got caught up with being busy. But if that ever happens again, you're doing any work, just take them, like I always used to do, and put them in the back of the monument, and just lay them down there. She'll see they're not there, she'll go and get them.
The ones from last year are still there, because I put them there last year.
I gotta tell her again. Well, you know what, you're gonna probably put them back in Memorial Day.
I know.
Labor Day, Veterans Day, but I'll tell her.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other new business? I'm sorry, unfinished business. I just have one item, and I know the clerk's going to look at me when I say this. Everybody who picks or takes out a permit for a garage sale, you got to read your permit and follow the rules that are on the permit. We allow everybody to do whatever they have to do to make sure your garage sale is a success, but on the paper it says, do not put signs on poles, do not put signs on right-of-ways, do not put signs on corners. And it's constantly being done. And I think the cops are getting a little annoyed at me because I call every Saturday when I see this. So, you know, if you know anybody that's having a sale, let them read the application or the form. I mean, we have an ordinance that protects everyone from not putting this stuff on the poles. You know, residents came forward for certain reasons, and we approved it. And what we're doing now is we're saying to the residents that approved this or wanted this that, you know, we don't care. But we have to. I mean, there's social media, Waldwick United, they'll get the message out. So just, you know, be very careful and concerned about what the rules are in the borough. You know, we're not trying to force people to follow the rules, but it'll be nice to follow the rules because they're not there to hurt anyone, they're there to help everyone. Any new business from the council? Nobody? Okay, public comments. Anybody from the comment like to say anything? Please come to the microphone, state your name only, do not tell us your address.
Hello. Hello, Mike McHugh. You probably know why I'm here. Just want to get an update on the traffic study. Last in June, you were going to get the council together and discuss it, but I just haven't heard anything. So just like to see what's going on.
Yeah, I'll comment on that. So we did have a meeting with a few of the council, myself, the chief of police, and we had some questions. We were just provided a follow-up memo from the engineer last week. So now the next step is myself and the chief and his team are actually going to take a ride through kind of the top 5 sites that they've identified in this study as the highest traffic and highest speed zones and kind of come up with some recommendations from there. They had a lot of different recommendations, all can get pretty costly, so we really want to look at each individual site, see what's going to be the best fit for that site, and kind of start with some of the short-term fixes that we think we could do right away, and then, you know, while looking at some long-term planning.
So what's the time frame on that?
I would say, you know, we'll probably have an update at the next meeting. We could provide an update for you on that one.
Is there any
Prior
way
to
for-
that, we do plan to go out next week to identify some locations and some possible solutions. But then I would have to bring that back, you know, make some recommendations to the council.
Is there any way that I could be involved or have some input or no? 'Cause
Sorry.
I've lived here for 33 years.
Sorry. We already have everything done, and we, as the administrator said, that we already pinpointed the streets. And that's, we come back to you with it, and then we'll have a public hearing about what we're going to do, and all the public will come and comment on everything.
Because from the beginning, I've said I'd like to be involved, and I was never contacted for anything, so.
We will keep you informed of everything that we're doing. And there's no movement. That's why we're not informing you. We've been talking about what's going to be done or how it's going to be done. A lot of the streets that everyone thinks there's a big traffic problem is not. The streets that people thought there weren't traffic, there is. So that's why the administrator is going to be going out there and looking at all the areas.
If phase 1 was that study, now we have all the data, all the hard numbers, so now we have to go out and make some decisions.
Okay. Well, I look forward to hearing something at some point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Look like a pumpkin.
That's my name, right?
Correct.
Your name only, sir.
That's my name.
Your real name.
Full name or just what they
No, we'll be here all night.
Al Colvin. On this one ordinance, 2023-265, I'm just curious. I'm not putting up any kind of problem or anything. What would a brand-new truck like that cost?
Talking about
The sewer truck that went up.
Yes, the resolution, the sewer truck,
Only
right?
The one part.
Yeah.
Yeah, 265. I mean, 238,000, 239,000. There's a lot of money. How much would that truck cost originally? A million? Half a million?
Al, you're right on the lines of it be over $500,000. This was publicly bid, so we tried to, get as lowest price possible. Unfortunately, there really are only one authorized provider for this, so we weren't surprised when that was the bid, but that's also what their price used to be on the co-op. So as Councilman Ritchie stated, it was budgeted for. We were prepared for this number, and it actually is cheaper than going out and buying a new truck.
I was just curious. I thought that this thing cost, $400,000 for a little bit more. You get a brand-new truck. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And another thing happened to strike me, listening to what the resolutions are. Every resolution here, for children's birthday party, everyone has liquor being alcoholic beverages being served. Now, that kid's 7 years old, he can't drink.
Most of them are for 1-year-olds.
What's the liquor for? Who's it for?
It's for the parents because they have to be with all the kids.
Why do they have to drink when they got it's a little kid's party, drink soda? No, I'm serious.
I know, but we can't tell people what to do at a party.
Well, you're telling them here that they can have it.
Well, we can't say no to them.
Why not say any child under 5 years old, you can't have liquor at the party?
You can't do that.
Why not?
They have rights, the families.
No, tell me why not.
The families have rights, and their rights are that they could have a party, and they could, in your house, when you have a party, do you have alcohol?
No.
Wow. I'm not coming to your house.
You weren't invited.
No, I know what I understand what you're saying, but it's very hard for a governing body to
Every
make
party
decisions
for
like that.
children has liquor. I'm just quite surprised that something like that's allowed. But I guess you're right.
Anyone else?
Ted Sanzo. Concerning the quote-unquote lawsuit, first of all, we're going down the road. Any idea of how long this is going to take? Are we looking 5 years, 10 years? Or anybody got an idea before something's finally settled?
I've learned in litigation, especially in these nationwide litigations, not to predict how long anything will take.
Well, I'm trying to be very open-minded, saying 5, 10 years. I realize it's going to be long. Okay. I work at the library as like handyman, custodian, whatever. Lots of people throw cardboard in the dumpster there. Okay? Now, if the town has a recycling ordinance, I guess the people who service the town should recycle. Now, yeah, I know, I go above and beyond. I bring the recycles down to the recycle center from the library. Okay? But that's a give, just so you know. But I would hope that the town itself recycles. Period.
Do you recycle?
I shouldn't be
We do.
finding busted up cardboard boxes in the dumpster. Just, it's a habit. Okay, I know a few months ago, I requested something be done to provide separate for the recycle in that area. Okay, which I guess handles the garbage from this building and the police department and the library, okay? And that's a few months ago, nothing yet. And when the cardboard keeps going in there. So I would hope something happens. Now, back to the lawsuit. Is there any way, I realize why they put everything down into one jurisdiction on the federal court. I understand that. Okay, instead of having 27 different decisions. Okay, is there a way to follow that online?
There actually is. Through the federal court system, there's a service called PACER, P-A-C-E-R. And if you, I don't have the docket number here with me, but I'll get it to Steve and he can provide it to you, Ted. And then you can go on there and find every document that's filed. And, you know, the day it's uploaded by an attorney or something, I think it's probably within 6 hours, it's uploaded onto the site. And you can follow along right there with everything that's filed. Now, I will tell you, there are hundreds of documents filed, but you feel free to peruse it at your convenience and read everything.
Oh, instead of just me having that docket number, if in the future you would put it for, how can I say, so that the people that either attend this meeting or go through the agenda somehow or other would get the docket number. I don't wish to have just private information. I wish everybody to have the information if they choose to look. Now, I know, I think Hocus was able to jump, they said 50 spots on getting the material for their treatment. Are we have that option at all? Or are we just getting in line, at the end of the line for whenever we place our order? I don't know if we're able to jump spots. I don't know if that's available to us. You know, being as we now probably have monies dedicated, you got a signed contract, which means, well, we're serious about it. And it's not just still in the formulation stage. I realize you mentioned we would be starting this in the fall. Now, am I also correct in knowing that this was supposed to be done by May 2024? I thought I saw something picked up online. I could be mistaken. You know, does it have to be completed by May 2024? Does anybody have that information?
So I'll comment on that. We do have an administrative consent order that we're supposed to follow, which kind of outlines, you know, the set timeline with the DEP and everything. The big question mark on all these projects for any town is the supply chain issue.
Right.
Getting, you know, the vessels is going to be the #1 spot. So we could start construction, we could have everything in place, but if we don't have those vessels,
Right.
then we just have to wait it out.
Right.
So I don't know if Ho-Ho-Kus did jump 50, you know, spots or how they managed to do that, but I know they're actually a lot farther ahead with their construction process than we are. We're just getting started. They're actually just finishing up.
Right.
So, you know, anything we can do to try and jump ahead, we will try and do. But at this point, it is an unknown until we really dive in and get started and actually place some orders.
Okay, from what I understand, Hocus, when I believe I saw their email notification, they said their vessels were 30 weeks out. So, and they had jumped 50 spots. So,
There's a significant lead time.
oh, I understand. That's all. I'm just making an inquiry because we had been told a variety of other things, and I'm just paying attention. Thank you.
Ted, the master docket number is 2, and we're going to post this on the website, but it's 2:18 M as in Mary, N as in Nancy, -2873. And then the civil action number is 2:23 CV Craig Victor -03125 RMG. We'll make sure that gets out.
Thank you very much, and have a good evening. Oh, thanks for all the hard work. I understand.
Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Ooh, that was fast. Motion by Mike, second by Michelle. All those in favor?